picking up where we left off the other day, which is page 297. I almost said Frodo and Dumbledore. Harry and Dumbledore are talking, and Dumbledore's just told Harry his great quote from the novel. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. You know, the stone was really not such a wonderful thing. As much money in life as you could want. And I had this on the board the other day. As much money in life as you could want. And then Dumbledore says, the only thing is, the two things most human beings would choose above all. That is, they're in a tie for first place. Okay? These are what most people would choose, he says. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are worst for them. Okay? Money and life. So, if these are precisely the things that are worse for them, then the opposite of those ought to be precisely the things that would be best for them. Poverty or being poor? Death? What does J.K. Rowling mean? Or am I going into it too much? Am I trying to find more than is really there? Well, what happens in the course of the next 6 novels? What does Harry learn in the course of the next 6 novels?
Everyone dies.
Everyone does die, unless you're Elijah or Enoch, 2 figures from the Old Testament. Here's what he learns. How to die well. Okay? I think all 7 books are essentially a manual, a how-to book on how to die well, how to die properly, how to prepare for death. Okay? And what does money have to do with that? Absolutely nothing. What does Harry give up as he prepares to die? Everything. Okay? What happens to him in book 7? Before he walks into the Forbidden Forest. Before he sees Snape's memories. Specifically, what happens to him after his wand is broken? Anybody remember? What's his attitude? He is poor, we could say, in spirit. He loses his wand. He loses everything. Because what kind of magic can you do without a wand? Very undirected. Unless you're young Tom Riddle, where you can apparently do quite a bit. Okay? So we see this idea that precisely the 2 things that should be best for you would then be to what? To accept death? Because why do people want more life? To avoid death. So it's not just saying, oh, well, death is good. Death is the best thing. So let's all go off, and play James Jones in Jonestown and kill ourselves. Drink, the Kool-Aid, so to speak. It's not what she's suggesting. But she is suggesting that this attitude that you have to live at all costs is wrong. And so the reverse of that is that you need to be accepting of death. And I don't mean that she means, or I don't think she means accepting of death of, oh, everybody dies, therefore just roll over and let it happen. No. But that one can control death. And I don't mean suicide. Okay? But that one can be prepared for death so that when death does come, You're not dragged kicking and screaming, which we'll see language that she uses in book 6 about that. This, as much money as one could want. Who do we see in the novels that kind of display attitude? Dursleys and Malfoy, or Dudley and Malfoy. Okay. What happens from wanting all those good things, Malfoy Manor? What happens as a result of all their great wealth? Malfoy. Bad faith. They put their faith, their trust, their belief in the wrong things. Compare that with Harry and how Harry was raised. What did he have? Nothing. What did Dudley have? Everything. Harry gets the spare bedroom. That is, it's the bedroom nobody else wants. And for Harry's purposes, what is nothing? Nothing he can use. Everything's broken. Okay? So he's essentially poor his whole life. And then who does he make best friends with? The poorest kid on the block, Ron Weasley. What about Hermione? Hermione's like a good female version, good morally, of Dudley. She's got everything. Parents do.
Dentist.
If you know any dentists make pretty good money. Okay? So, we pick up from there, and Harry lay there, lost for words. Why? He's 11 years old. You think Harry understands all this? No. Dumbledore's trying to teach him. Harry's like, what? He's 11 years. How often do 11-year-olds think of death? They don't. Unless they have someone close to them who has died. Okay? Even if the stone's gone. Call him Voldemort, Harry. Always use the proper name for things. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. Call him Voldemort. And I don't care whether you put Voldemort or if you do like, what's his name in the audio version, Voldemort. You want to be all French and everything. Vol, from voleo or from volare in Latin, means to fly. De means from or out of death. His name means to fly or flee from death. And we're going to hear him tell us in book 4, after he re-arrives and he's talking to his Death Eaters. You all knew all the steps I took to ensure what? That I would never die. Okay? Notice what Voldemort wants. More life. Not better life. He doesn't want richer life. He wants more life. Just add on the hours and minutes, as it were. Okay? So Harry says, yeah, him. He hasn't gone, has he? Right? He's come. No, he's not. Notice Dumbledore doesn't say, oh, well, Harry, maybe we shouldn't talk about this right now because you're kind of distraught or whatever. Hand that to him. He says, no, not being truly alive, he cannot be killed. He left Quirrell to die. He shows just as little mercy to his followers as his enemies. All right? But, Harry, you might have delayed his return to power. It will merely take someone else who is prepared to fight what seems a losing battle next time. Notice, it seems a losing battle. What is it Tolkien says is really the real power of that eucatastrophe and that consolation? He says, the eucatastrophe says, in the face of much evidence to the contrary. Okay? The face of much evidence of what? That evil wins. The eucatastrophe shows evil doesn't entirely win. Okay? So Dumbledore says, it might seem a losing battle. It'll just take someone else prepared to fight him. And if he's delayed again and again, maybe he may never return. But notice what that will take. People willing to stand up. People willing to fight. Harry nods. Okay, I can buy that. I want to know the truth about some things. The truth. It is a beautiful and terrible thing, should therefore be treated with great caution. It's almost like Dumbledore saying, careful, Harry. You're on thin ice here. I shall answer your question unless I have a very good reason not to, in which case I beg you'll forgive me. I shall not, of course, lie. In other words, if the only answer I can give is the truth, then I will tell you the truth. But if I don't answer your question at all, you'll have to what? Forgive me. Okay? Harry, Voldemort said he only killed my mother because she tried to stop him from killing me. But why would he want to kill me in the first place? Go back for a moment to page 294. Voldemort tells him, better save your own life and join me, or you'll meet the same end as your parents. They died begging me for mercy. Liar, how touching. I always value bravery. Yes, boy, your parents were brave. I killed your father first, and he put up a courageous fight. Did he? What do we learn in book 3? How courageous was the fight James put up? Anybody remember? What do you have to have if you're a wizard to fight somebody else? A wand. Where was his wand? Lying on the couch when Voldemort came in the house. Okay? Right? It was Avada Kedavra, he's dead. And Voldemort just waltzes up the stairs to go after Lily. Killed your father first, courageous fight, but your mother needn't have died. She was trying to protect you. Harry says, never. Okay. And that's the end of the talk. Mother needn't have died. She was trying to protect you. So Harry, why would he want to kill me in the first place? Next question. Can't answer that one. The first thing you ask me, I cannot tell you. Liar. And I'm saying this because I'm being nitpicky in terms of word choice. He can tell him. You won't tell him. Okay? Not today, not now. You will know one day. Put it from your mind for now until the end of book 5, Harry. Life is really bad. When you're really mad at me and you want to kill me, I'm going to give you even more ammo to kill me. Okay? You don't want to hear this, but when you're ready, you will know. Harry's like, okay. So why couldn't Quirrell touch me? Your mother died to save you. If there's one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. You can jump from here to book 6 and book 7. He didn't realize that love as powerful as your mother's for you leaves its own mark. Not a scar. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. It's in your very skin. Well, what else is it in?
His blood.
His blood. Okay? So Quirrell couldn't touch him. Harry, do you know? Well, yeah, it was me. Your father left it in my possession. Okay? Something else. Quirrell and Snape. Harry. Why not Professor Quirrell, Harry? He's dead for one reason. You know, give respect. Why else?
Quirrell betrayed them.
Quirrell betrayed them. Throughout, Harry will say, yeah, but Snape, Professor Snape, Harry. What is Dumbledore doing there?
Instilling respect.
He's trying to teach respect to Harry. Based upon actions that we see, how is Snape of respect?
Are we saying currently or
Wherever. Because every time Harry says Snape and Dumbledore says, it's kind of like he's rolling his eyes going, come off it, you little brat. Professor Snape! Okay? But how deserving is Snape of respect? Notice, it's a matter of deserving. It's a matter, in this instance and even throughout later books, until Snape becomes headmaster and then fired and stuff, okay? It's a matter of job title. He deserves respect solely because of what it is at the school, period. Just like when Hagrid becomes a teacher, Hagrid is deserving of respect. So Malfoy shouldn't call him that big oaf, like he often does. Okay? Sprout, Madam Pomp, all the teachers, staff, even Filch is deserving of respect. Okay? Harry, yeah, him. I love that part. Yeah, him. He doesn't even want to say Snape's again. Quirrell said he hates me because he hated my father. Well, they did detest each other. Like you and Mr. Malfoy. And your father saved his life. What? Yes. Funny the way people's minds work. Well, why should that be such a surprise to Harry that his father saved Snape's life? Can't imagine why. What is Harry in this book?
Save Malfoy's life.
You could argue he saved Malfoy's life. Look! And he throws his arm out to stop Malfoy from going closer to the fallen unicorn. Okay? How did I get the stone out of the mirror? And Dumbledore kind of goes, sheer brilliance on my part, you know. So, the others come in. Ron says everybody's talking about it. And they see Hagrid, and Hagrid's like, you know, blubbering idiot and stuff. End of your feast. And who do we find out won House Cup? Slytherin did. Everything's gold and, green and silver. And so Dumbledore says, page 305, yes, well done, Slytherin. But recent events must be taken into account. The Slytherins just, they go dead at that point. Few last minute points to award. To Ronald. Why does he do Ron first? Because he'll stand out. It'll mean a lot to him. Ron comes second or third. He's merely part of a group. If he's labeled first, then he's at the head of the group. Okay? Mr. Ronald Weasley, for the best played game of chess Hogwarts has seen in many years, I award Gryffindor House 50 points. And Percy, the prat that he is, my brother, got past McGonagall's giant chess set. Okay? And then to Hermione Granger for the use of cool logic in the face of fire. I award Gryffindor House 50 points. Hermione burst into tears. Okay. Gryffindors are beside themselves, which is an interesting phrase if you think about it. I mean, what does that literally mean, to be beside yourself? Are you here and there at the same time? Third, Harry Potter, for pure nerve and outstanding courage, 60 points. They're tied. Gryffindor are now tied. There are all kinds of courage. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to your enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. I therefore award 10 points to Mr. Neville Longbottom. Notice he doesn't ultimately say what Neville. He doesn't say, I award 10 points to Neville Longbottom for attempting to stop Harry Potter from going after the Sorcerer's Stone to stop Lord Voldemort from rising again. Because that doesn't sound so good, does it? Because that almost makes it sound like, well, Bottom then wanted Lord Voldemort to come back to power? Well, that's stupid. So he doesn't do that. So what are we saying there? He awards 10 points to Neville for standing up to his friends. What age group are they?
11.
What is starting to happen to 11-year-olds? I don't mean puberty. What do kids really, beginning around 10 or 11, start to notice or start to be aware of?
Status. Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Let's go do. No, I don't know. Oh, come on, chicken. Let's try. Let's do. Let's go out of the dormitory, after hours kind of a thing. He'll do. He doesn't buckle to the peer pressure. What does this show us on Neville's part in this book? Shows us why he's in Gryffindor. Nerve, daring, bravery, courage. Yeah. He's starting to show all those things. Does he have any ability behind in himself to back it up? No. Not like Hermione, who does a Petrificus Totalis, freezes them, the full body charge. Not like Harry, who has raw natural talent. Not like even Ron, who's good at standing behind somebody and pushing them forward. Okay? Initiate a lot of action on his own. So we have the end of the year, and Harry goes home. Okay? He goes home, and now he has to deal with the Dursleys. I have the right book, don't I? Now he has to deal with the Dursleys for a couple of months, where he'd rather be back here with all of his friends. So he opened the Chamber of Secrets, which we're going to go through quickly. Yeah, today. What do I have? I don't know. And something so great. Harry's not gotten any cards or letters for his birthday. And we see Dobby's warning. Okay, I'm skipping the part where, Harry teases Dudley and that he's going to burn him up and stuff. So he has to do all the work. It's sent to his room the night that Vernon is having his boss over, or not his boss, but a possible person who wants to purchase some drills. And Harry meets Dobby, pages 12 and 13. And Harry says, hello? Harry Potter, so long as Dobby wanted to meet you, sir. Such an honor. Harry, shh. What are you? He meant to say, who are you? Dobby, sir, just Dobby. Dobby the house. Not a great time for you to be here. Because Dobby, not that I'm not pleased to meet you, but why are you here? Dobby's going to tell you, so it's difficult. Dobby wonders where. Sit down. Sit. I didn't mean to offend you. Offend Dobby. Dobby's never been asked to sit down by a wizard. Like it. Harry's just saying, take a load off. And Dobby's, getting ready to smack his head in the window and all those other kinds of things. And Harry's like, well, you can't have met many decent wizards. Dobby shakes his head and then starts banging his head on the window. Bed, Dobby, bed, Dobby. Why? Dobby had to punish himself. Dobby almost spoke ill of the family. Well, we find out what family Dobby serves. Should Dobby speak ill of the family?
Yes.
Probably everything that comes out of his mouth. Okay? Harry, what? The wizard family Dobby serves, sir. Dobby's a house elf, bound to serve one. Harry's like, do they know you're here? Oh, no. Won't they notice if you shut your ears and Avondur? Dobby doubts it, sir. Why don't you leave? Escape. House elf must be set free, sir. The family would never let Dobby serve the family until he dies. Just go to book 5 and visit the Black House. You walk up the stairs where lots of people have pictures of family. We have house elf heads. Kind of creepy when you think about it. Harry. And I thought I had it bad staying here for another 4 weeks. Okay. What was he feeling that morning when he got up? Sorry for himself. Here it was, his birthday. He's now 12. And he hasn't gotten any cards or gifts from any of his new friends. Like, forgotten him. And so he's having this pity party. Plus, now he has to stay upstairs in his room while they've got all this good food and pudding downstairs. And he has to stay up here. And he's feeling pretty bad for himself. And then Dobby comes and explains, yeah, well, you could be in my... where you could be enslaved to a family that hates you, that wouldn't even notice if you slammed your ears in an oven door. And you are enslaved there until you die. And I thought I had it bad. What does Dobby's conversation do? It takes Harry out of himself. Okay? This makes the Dursleys sound almost human. Can't anyone help you? Can't I? Harry's first reaction. What can I do to help you? Dobby starts wailing again. Shh. Harry Potter asks if he can help Dobby. Dobby has heard of your greatness here, but of your goodness. He's heard of his greatness. How has he heard of his greatness? Well, because, yeah, Malfoy's bitching in the background about, Harry Potter that, Harry Potter that, Harry Potter saved us the Sorcerer's Stone. Okay? Harry, I don't know what you've heard about my greatness. It's a load of rubbish. I'm not even top of my year at Hogwarts. Here's Hermione. Notice how Harry interprets greatness. Good grades. Good grades. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. What do good grades have to do with life? Squat. Unless your parents are the kind of parents that are like, you won't have a life if you don't have good grades. But in terms of the actual living of life, daily interaction with people, in other words, real living, nothing. Nothing. I was just reading an article the other day. Not completely off topic. To really get you demoralized and down for the rest of the day. About the value of a college degree today. Okay? Where today, college degrees are required for the kinds of jobs that 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, you didn't even need a high school degree, like filing papers, being a clerk, okay, that most places today will want a bachelor's degree. In other words, they want students to, because it's essentially what is required today to get a degree, to take on debt. And the article was an article in the New York Times, of all places, which I very seldom read. And it was about this law office in Atlanta that had a bunch of people working for it. And, the girl on the front, the article's picture, front page, just stunning blonde, who had a fashion and retail marketing degree from some Georgia. $100,000 in debt to be a filing clerk at this law school, at this law office for $35,000 a year. Okay. Sorry, if you have $100,000 in debt and you're making minimum payments at a $35,000 a year job, you will never pay the loan off. And I mean that literally. At $35,000 a year. Now, obviously, you'll expect to get raises and things like that. Okay? The whole purpose of the article is to show how today a college degree is required for jobs that did not used to require a degree at all. So what does that mean? It means there's a huge number of degrees out there and relatively few jobs. Right? I have no idea why I got off on that one. So, because Harry's asking about goodness and greatness and stuff. And he assumes greatness with grades. Okay. Harry Potter is humble and modest. Notice Dobby doesn't shut up. He just, takes what Harry says and says, oh, he's just trying to himself. So, Dobby says Harry is great. Let's do this. Dobby says Harry is 1, great, 2, good, 3, modest, 4, humble. Harry Potter speaks not of his triumph over he who must not be named. Voldemort? No, say not the names. All that kind of stuff. Harry, sorry, forgot. Lots of people don't like it. Dobby heard tell Harry Potter escaped yet again. Okay, Harry nods. Dobby's eyes shine with tears. Harry Potter, it just keeps coming up with more. Valiant, bold. He's braved so many dangers already, but Dobby's come to warn Harry Potter, blah, blah, blah. Harry Potter, what? Must not go back to Hogwarts. And Harry's like, kill me now. If you're saying I can't go back to Hogwarts, just kill me now. What? I've got to. I don't belong here. I belong in your world. No, Harry Potter must stay where he is safe. He is too great, too good to lose. How is Dobby looking at Harry?
Savior.
Yeah, as a savior almost. Harry Potter must not put himself in peril. He is too important. Harry, what terrible things? What plot? Okay. Harry says, okay, so you can't tell me. Let's play charades. Voldemort doesn't have a brother, does he? No. Okay. Well, who else could have a chance of making horrible things happen to Hogwarts? I mean, you know who Dumbledore is, don't you? And Dobby bows his head. Like God. Albus Dumbledore is the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever had. Dobby knows it, sir. Dobby has heard Dumbledore's powers rival those of Voldemort at the height of his strength. There are powers Dumbledore doesn't. Powers no decent wizard. What did Dumbledore tell McGonagall at the beginning of the first book? Voldemort has powers I will never have. McGonagall says, only because you are too noble to use them. Okay? They make a bit more noise. And Harry says, see what it's like here? This is why I've got to go back to Hogwarts. I've got friends. Friends who don't even write to Harry Potter. Well, Dobby shows him the letters. Okay. Harry Potter mustn't be angry. Dobby hoped if Harry Potter thought his friends had forgotten him, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So what have we seen? Dobby wants to save Harry. Okay? So Dobby has got to take extreme measures to make sure Harry stays alive. What extreme measures come next? To drop the floating pudding. And immediately Harry gets a letter from Mafalda Hopkirk, who Hermione will impersonate in book 7. Okay? And Harry's in trouble. He gets locked up in his room until Ron and Fred and George come and rescue him. And I'm going to skip a bunch. Let's see here. They go on to, after Harry's arrived at the Burrow, they go on to Flourish and Blotts. I'm skipping a whole bunch because I do want to get through this today. They go on to Flourish and Blotts. And what do we see on page 58? Okay. They're at the bookstore, and Ron sees Percy reading a book. And what's the book? It's a boring book called Prefects Who Gained Power. A study of Hogwarts prefects and their later careers. That sounds fascinating. Ron says. Go away. Ron, of course he's very ambitious, Percy. He's got it all planned out. He wants to be Minister of Magic. You think this is an accident that this comes so shortly after there is only power in those too weak to seek it? What does Ron want? Power. Percy. What does Percy want? Power. Okay. So we see Gilderoy Lockhart and Malfoy and Harry and their little interaction. And then on page 62, Mr. Malfoy just has to go and say some things to Arthur. Okay? He says, busy time at the ministry, I hear. I hope they're paying you overtime. He reaches into Ginny's cauldron and pulls out her Transfiguration book. Obviously not. Why? Because her Transfiguration book looks like this. Binding's all broken, pages are ready to fall out. Dear me, what's the use of being a disgrace to the name of wizard if they don't even pay you well for it? What does that tell us about Malfoy's mindset? Money's everything. In other words, I would be a disgrace if I was paid well for it. I would be a traitor if you paid me enough. So, money is everything. Arthur, we have a very idea of what disgraces the name of wizard. For Arthur, what disgraces the name of wizard? A lack of integrity. Okay? Malfoy insults the Grangers. The company you keep, Weasley, and I thought your family could sink no lower. And frankly, you just gotta love Arthur Weasley at this point, you know. And Fred and George, get him, Dad! Mrs. Weasley, Arthur, no, the children, what do they? Hagrid goes in, kind of picks them up by the scruffs of their necks, separates them. Okay. And then we hear, when Hagrid gets them separated, and the go off, we hear Hagrid say this, page 63. You should have ignored him, Arthur. Rotten to the core. The whole family, everyone knows that. No Malfoy's worth listening to her. Bad blood. That's what it is. Come on now, let's get out of here. What has Hagrid just said? Rotten to the core. Okay? Bad blood. Okay. What's he really saying? He's saying there are some people who are no damn good. Who are not worth your time, not worth your effort. Bad blood means like they are genetically inferior or genetically morally bankrupt. Bad blood implies there is nothing they can do about it. They are rotten. They will be rotten until the day they die. Okay? This is Hagrid saying this. What is Hagrid? What does the wizarding world think of giants? Most of them don't really care for them all that much. Okay? And then Mrs. Weasley just lets loose on Arthur. So, we get the next chapter, the Whomping Willow. Harry can't get through the barrier, so they borrow the Flying Fort Anglia. They fly to school, they crash into the Whomping Willow. Car drives off into the forest. They make their way up to the school, and page 77. Harry's like, where's Snape? Ron, I don't know, maybe he's sick. Harry, maybe he's left because he missed out on the arts job again. Or he might have been sacked, Ron says. I mean, everyone hates him. Notice how it's always Ron who says the wrong thing at the wrong time. Hermione has to know she has no friends. Or maybe he's waiting to hear why you two didn't arrive on the train. Okay. And so we get that whole scene where he has to go and he talks to McGonagall and Dumbledore. Snape wants to have him thrown out of school. Dumbledore says it's McGonagall's choice because she's their head of house. Okay. And Harry, page 82, Harry's starting to think a little bit. McGonagall tells them the sorting ceremony is over. Your sister's in Gryffindor. And then she starts to say, and speaking of Gryffindor, and Harry cuts her off. When we took the car, term hadn't started yet. So Gryffindor shouldn't have any points taken from it. Should it? Really? And she gave him a piercing look, but she almost smiles. Like, yeah, it's pretty smart there, Potter. No, but you're both getting attention. Well, that's not fair either. I mean, if school hadn't really started, okay. They go upstairs to the common room, and what happens? Everybody is totally cool. How they flew a car up from London. I mean, how awesome is that? So they meet Gilderoy Lockhart. Ron gets his howler. And Harry has his little interaction with Lockhart on page 91 where Lockhart about, seeking too much publicity and how he won the Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award 5 times in a row. And by the way, Kevin Branagh was perfectly cast as Gilderoy, but he should have kept his hair long so that, when he goes into the classroom and shows his picture, he could toss his head so that his goes, because he really has to be that narcissistic. So page 99, in fact. He holds the book up and says, me. Gilderoy Lockhart, Order of Merlin, third class, honorary member, blah, 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 blah. Gilderoy Lockhart. Does his name mean anything? Does it have symbolism? You've ever heard the phrase, to gild the lily? Okay, well, if you haven't, then you're out of luck. It means to gold, that is, to cover in gold the lily. Well, what's a lily? Flower. To gild the lily is to make it more precious. All right? So gild is gold. Roy, okay, this could be of. Roy, it's French. It's from raw. King. It's kind of like, not kind, king, dummy. The gold king. But it's not really gold. Why? Because it's gilded. It's like this gold king. Okay? Lockhart. What happens when your heart's locked? Good thing to do after you break up with somebody, by the way. Lock that sucker up tight. You don't let anybody else in. Okay? What's Gilderoy Lockhart's problem?
Narcissism.
What's his heart locked up around? Himself. The gilded king. Okay? So, how is he at Defense Against the Dark Arts? His first lesson, it's a practical lesson. He's a moron. Let's face it. He is a complete, unmitigated moron. But who likes him? Hermione and all the girls, except for McGonagall probably,
She doesn't really like him.
and Sprout. Okay. Page 103, Ron, can you believe him? Hermione, he just wants to give us some hands-on experience. Harry, hands-on. Hermione didn't have a clue what he was doing. His books. Look at all the amazing things he's done. All the amazing things says he's done. Interesting, significant portion there. What does that tell us about Hermione? She believes everything she reads. Notice the importance of reading. Well, what's Harry going to do? Verse of the book. Okay, what else is Harry going to do, though? What happens when Harry gets Tom Riddle's and he believes everything in it? It's true. Who else reads and writes in the diary? And believes everything that's there. Okay? I think Rowling is suggesting to her audience, it's okay to read, but one should read with a somewhat critical eye. That is, don't believe everything that is written. Even if it's written in a textbook, possibly, as we will see later on in the series. Okay? So, after Mudbloods and Murmurs, Harry and the Quidditch team go off for practice, and the Slytherins show up. They have their little sign note from Snape. Hermione goes down, because we see Malfoy's now on the Slytherin team because his father bought them all new brooms. And page 12, Hermione says, at least no one on the Gryffindor team had to buy their way in. They got in on pure talent. No one asked your opinion, you filthy little mudblood. And all hell breaks loose. Why? Harry knows it, Malfoy said something. He doesn't know what. Alicia, how dare you? Ron plunges his hand into his robes. You'll pay for that one, Malfoy. Notice who comes to Hermione's defense. Her fallen knight in shining armor. Pulls out his wand, tries a spell, burping out slugs. Okay? Meanwhile, Colin wants to get pictures of slugs coming out of Harry's mouth. Okay. Go down to Hagrid's, page 115. Hagrid talks about how Lockhart was the only person for the job. And then page 115, Ron explains what mudblood means. Notice, Hermione doesn't know. Why wouldn't Hermione know what mudblood means? Okay, because she is one, to say.
Probably not written.
She hasn't read about it in a book. What is a modern equivalent of mudblood? Nigger. That's what it means, essentially. Okay. Mudblood means those born of the mud people. Okay? Nigger was a term, used throughout the century. Much of the 20th century has all kinds of negative connotations, unless you're Quentin Tarantino and you've seen Django, which I haven't used a couple hundred times in the film. All right? It's really foul and offensive. It means not human. Okay? Mudblood's a really foul name for someone muggerborn. Non-magic parents. There are some wizards, like Malfoy's family, says, top of 116, who think they're better than everyone else because they're what people call pure blood. Go back to what Hagrid said at Flourish and Blotts. Hagrid call the Malfoys bad blood. Notice, Hagrid has been to this mentality without even being aware of it. That is the definition of prejudice. Okay? The rest of any difference. Look at Neville. He's pure blood. Can barely stand a cauldron the right way up. Hello, look at Ron burping slugs out of his face. Okay? It's a disgusting thing to call someone. Dirty blood, see? Comments. Ridiculous. Most wizards these days are half-blood. Okay? Hagrid's like, I don't blame you for trying to curse him, but you really shouldn't have. So, they make their way back up to school, and Harry hears the voice for the first time. 120, come to me, let me rip you, let me kill you, let me tear you apart and eat you. I like it. We have the Death Day party. Harry agrees to go for Nearly Headless Nick on page 129. It's Nick's 500th death day. Okay? It's Halloween. And what year is it? 1992. So when did Nick die? 1492. On Halloween. Harry's like, okay, we'll go. So they go, and what kind of food do they find at the death day party? Nothing quite good. So they're leaving the death day party, and Harry hears the voice again. Now, where was he when he first heard the voice? He was in detention with Lockhart. Signing Lockhart's, looking at Lockhart's picture all over the wall with curlers in his hair. And they make up and follows the voice, page 138. And what do they see? Shining on the wall, really squinting through the darkness, foot-high words. The chamber of secrets has been opened, enemies of the air beware. And underneath the mess of the wall, tied by her tail, is Mrs. Norris. Wretched old cat. If I were Harry or Ron, well, Harry wouldn't do this. If I were Ron, I'd kick her. She's frozen. She can't do anything. She's just the kind of person I am. Ron, let's get out of here. Okay, I heard the snickers. Think about it. What kind of cat is Mrs. Norris? Well, other than now, a petrified one. She's an informer. She helps tell Filch when students are out of the rooms and everything. Cat deserves it. Swift kick in the petrified side. Okay, so Ron says, let's get out of here. Shouldn't we try and help? Harry asks. Ron, you don't want to be found here. Notice who Harry wants to help. Mrs. Norris. Mrs. Norris, who is partly responsible for them Fluffy the first time. Because Mrs. Norris and Filch were, kind of making their way around. Too late. Bunch of people. Malfoy starts spouting off. And so what do we find out? We find out Mrs. Norris isn't dead. She's only petrified. Snape still wants Harry Potter. If you're not going to expel him from school, at least get him off the Quidditch team. Why? Because then maybe Slytherin will win. Okay? Goes like, Severus, please, And Dumbledore tells us, page 144, innocent until proven dangerous. Huh, really? Well, jump to book 5. How much innocent until proven guilty is there in book 5? Okay. Page 149, they go off to Ministry of History of Magic, and Hermione goes and asks Professor Binns about the Chamber of Secrets. And finally he explains, when Hermione and others say, yeah, but isn't there a little bit of truth in myth and legend? He says, just because a wizard doesn't use dark magic doesn't mean he can't, Miss Pennyfeather. I repeat, if the likes of Dumbledore, because he's saying Hogwarts has been searched high and low. If Dumbledore can't find the Chamber of Secrets, nobody can. Not a shred of evidence that Slytherin ever built so much as a secret broom cupboard. Okay? How long has Binns been dead? How long has Binns been there? Do we know? We don't. Okay? So, we're going to skip a bunch again. Page 155. They think about the spiders they saw. And Hermione giggles, and Ron's like, it's not funny. If you must know, when I was 3, Fred turned my teddy bear into a great big filthy spider because I broke his toy broomstick. How much older are Fred and George than Ron? 2 years. So Ron was 3. How old was Fred? 5. And what is he doing? What kind of magic? Transfiguration. At 5 years old, he turns a teddy bear into a spider. And what spider? A live one. Teddy bears aren't live. So not only does he turn it into a spider, but Now it's living. Okay? This is serious, you know what? Look at their transformations. They're having trouble turning what? Something into teacups. You know, turning hedgehogs into pincushions. And they're 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 as the books go on. And they're still having trouble. And Fred can do 5. Bad writing. It's just, there's just no excuse. It's just bad writing or bad copy. Okay? Never deals with that. She never explains it away anywhere else. So they go on. Okay? And Ron challenges Percy because Percy's on that third floor girls' toilet again. Percy's thinking, okay, guys, you're just being a little too weird. Ron challenges him, and Percy takes 5 points away from him. Prefect. The only problem is, even when you get to book 5, prefects can't take away points. Okay? So Hermione says, well, we can find out if Malfoy's really the heir of Slytherin, but we need some Polyjuice potion. So they come up with the idea of making potion. We have the Quidditch match, and the Rogue Bludger comes after Harry. And the Rogue Bludger isn't bad. When he breaks his arm, yeah. What's worse? Lockhart. Ah, yes, page 170. Can happen sometimes. Well, at least your bones are no longer broken. Because he has no bones in his arm. Well, I'll get you up to the hallway. So Harry goes up. Madame Pomfrey just goes ballistic. Okay. Ron, how can you stick up for Lockhart now, Hermione? Page 174. Well, anyone can make a mistake. So Harry starts to drink his Scaligro. 177. 176. Dobby shows up on Harry's chest. And Dobby explains it was his bludger, and he was the one who stopped him from entering the barrier. And Harry asks, why are you trying to kill me? No, not kill you. Bottom of 177. If Harry Potter only knew, if he knew what he means to us, to the lowly, the enslaved, we dregs of the magical world. Notice, if Harry knew what he meant, what he was, what he symbolized, to who? The lowly, the enslaved, the dregs. That is the outcast. Dobby remembers how it was when he who must not be named was at the height of his powers. We house elves were treated like vermin. Well, of course, Dobby still is treated like vermin. He says, but mostly life has improved. Since what? For my kind, since you triumphed over he who must not be named. Because Harry defeated Voldemort, life for those on the bottom rung of society has improved. Harry Potter survived, and the Dark Lord's power was broken, and it was a new dawn. A new day, a new beginning. Harry Potter shone like a beacon of hope for those of us who thought the dark days would never end, sir. Harry was like a son of righteousness, an S-U, okay? In other words. And now terrible things are happening. The Chamber of Secrets is open. Harry's like, what? It's real? And it was open before? Tell me. And what happens? Somebody else gets brought into the hospital. All right? Dumbledore get Madame Pomfrey. She comes in, and it's Colin Creevey. McGonagall, what does this mean, Albus? It means that the Chamber of Secrets is indeed open again. But Albus, surely, who? McGonagall asks. The question's not who, but how. Notice the little foreshadowing whatever her name is, Rowling gives us there. Take who and rearrange the letters. How? Take Tom Marvolo Riddle and rearrange the letters, and you get, I am Lord Voldemort. In other words, she gives us a little clue here, not about Tom Riddle and Voldemort, a little clue in turning letters around to making other things. In other words, it's how you read that's important. So Harry finds out there is a real Chamber of Secrets. So we get the dueling club going through real quickly. And what does Harry demonstrate during the duel? He's a parcel tongue, so everybody kind of backs off. And Ron's like, buddy, being a parcel tongue isn't good. Because there's only, really, how many other parcel tongues known? Slytherin. But Harry's thinking, but I'm a Gryffindor. Maybe the hat made a mistake. We're going to skip a bunch again. And what do we find out about Seamus Finnegan? He has problems with Harry. Harry goes up the stairs. Macmillan. Harry goes up the stairs, page 202. And what does he see? Justin Finch Fletchley, lying on the floor, rigid and cold. Next to him, nearly headless Nick. I mean, what is this? Ghosts can be frozen? Harry gets to his feet. He looks up and down. He knows he should run, but he can't leave them lying there. He had to help. How can he help? He can't. Would anyone believe he didn't have anything to do with it? And Peeves shows up. And then everybody else shows up. And McGonagall sends him off to... Harry goes up to Dumbledore's office, and whom does he meet? Fawkes. Okay? What's on the hat? Wondering whether I put you in the right house? Harry's yes. He goes, but that's right. You would have done well in Slytherin. Harry then notices Fawkes, and Fawkes, poof, bursts into flame. And Dumbledore tells him, bottom of 207. Handsome most of the time, wonderful red and gold plumage. No symbolism there. Fascinating creatures. They can carry immensely years of healing powers, and they make highly faithful pets. Kind of like a, remember this, Harry. Okay. So Hagrid bursts through the door, and Dumbledore says, don't worry, I don't believe Harry did anything. Yes?
I have a question. Is it Dumbledore implied war on a burning day there, kind of. But you said before that phoenixes only have one every 500 years.
Trinity in our world mythology of phoenixes, they immolate every 500 years, and then they're reborn from their ashes. 500 years old. There's somewhere in one of the books, and I've got it written down somewhere. Dumbledore is, if I remember correctly, no, take that back, he can't be. I'm almost positive I worked out at some point, being in like his 130s. But that can't be. Because he was 17 when he and Gellert Grindelwald, which was in the early part of the 20th century, and then Grindelwald is not killed, but defeated in 1945, and we're not told that he's really, really old at that point. So they keep talking, and Dumbledore asks, page 209, is there anything you'd like to tell me? Anything at all? What's Harry? Disembodied voices? Ron says no. No, sir. Dumbledore lets him go. Okay, we're going to skip a bunch. They do the Polyjuice Potion. What do they find out? It's not Malfoy. And page 240, Harry gets the, he's got the blank journal, and he drops some ink onto it. And the ink disappears. And he's thinking, So he writes his name. Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom. Have you come by my diary? Harry writes it down. Lucky that I recorded my memories. Harry asked, do you know about the chambers? Of course I know. It's in my day. They told us it was a legend, but this was a lie. In my 5th year, the chamber was opened. So, in my 5th year. So how old was Tom Riddle when the chamber 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe 16. Okay. So let's say, when was the chamber last opened? 50 years ago. So how old was Lord Voldemort? 65. What year was Hagrid when it was last opened? 3rd year. So Hagrid is now 63. How old is Snape? We don't know exactly. Probably late 30s, early 40s. Okay? By this time. Take the 40s. Probably mid 30s at this point. So, Harry goes into Tom Riddle's. What does he see? He sees Hagrid open the Chamber of Secrets. Okay? So we get the chapter Cornelius Fudge, because why does Fudge show up at the school? Got to take away. It last time. Hagrid swears it wasn't me. Okay? What has happened before Fudge comes? Somebody else has been attacked, right? Who? They're getting ready for the Quidditch match. And Hermione goes, I need to go to the library. She runs off to the library. Before the Quidditch match can begin, McGonagall stops it. She takes Harry and Ron. There's been a double attack. Penelope Clearwater, Percy's girlfriend, and Hermione have been attacked. So when Fudge gets there, it's like, we've got to do something. Because, you've got Mudbloods being attacked, all kinds of people being attacked. So Hagrid's going to have to go off to Azkaban. It's the first time we hear Azkaban mentioned. And when Fudge gets there, he's at page 261. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are down there under the invisibility cloak. Dumbledore's down there. And Dumbledore says, I want it understood, Hagrid has my full confidence. I tell you, taking Hagrid away will not help in the... And he's looking right at Harry. And Harry's under the invisibility cloak. Okay? God, seen doing something. It's the fallback of every inept politician there is. I've got to make the people think doing something. Okay, we're going to see Rufus Scrimgeour do the exact same thing in book 6. Okay? Short stretch only. All right? And then Malfoy shows up. And Dumbledore's removed from power. And just before they all leave, Hagrid offers his wonderful words of very clear advice. Harry, Ron, and Hermione know perfectly what Hagrid means. If anyone wanted to find out, not Hermione, sorry, Harry and Ron. If anyone wanted to find out some stuff, all they'd have to do would be spiders. That'd lead them right. What? Follow the spiders? Okay. But before then, Dumbledore say, I will only have truly left this school when there are none here loyal to me. You will also find it helpful at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. What's that mean? You get in a tight spot and you suddenly say, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Help me, Albus Dumbledore. And Albus Dumbledore magically appears? No. Yes?
Doesn't that get changed in a later book to those who deserve it?
He says it himself, though.
Dumbledore says it?
Or he doesn't.
In the movie? Yeah, because where is Dumbledore in the 7th book? Dead! King's Cross, but other than that, he's dead. Okay. So, no, Dumbledore never changes it to those who deserve it. It's only to those who are loyal to me. and to those who ask for help. All right, so Ernie McMillan comes up and says, I know you'd never do that to Hermione, so it can't be you. And they meet up with Aragog. Aragog explains that it wasn't Hagrid, that there's something else, and that there's a girl who was killed, and they put two and two together, and they finally figure out Moaning Myrtle, the dead girl and the girl. But then Aragog wants to eat them. So the wonderful Ford Anglia saves them. And we get the chapter, The Chamber of Secrets. We're going to skip a bunch. Ginny gets taken. They find the slip of paper in Hermione's hand. They read it. They realize the basilisk is moving around through the pipes. We're going to finish this. So what do the professors do? Dumbledore's gone. Ginny Weasley is taken. And who do they enlist to go after her? Why Lockhart? No, he's not trying to run away at that point.
He's expendable, figured it out.
He's expendable. He says he's figured it out. He knows exactly where everything is. After all, they've all read his books. Okay. So Lockhart goes off to his room, and what do Harry and Ron do? They go off to find Lockhart. What's he doing? So what do? They kidnap him. That's essentially what they do. They kidnap him. They take him at wand point to the girls' bathroom. And unbeknownst to him, Harry figures it out open because he says open sesame, essentially, in Parseltongue. The thing opens up, and they jump down in. What does Lockhart attempt to do there? He attempts to obliviate their minds so they don't know what they're doing, so that he can take credit because he sees the big snake skin, basilisk skin, because it shed. And he thinks, oh, I'm going to go up and I'm going to say, oh, it's too late. The girl was dead. I'm even going to look for her. So what do we really ultimately find out about Gilderoy Lockhart? He's a... We already knew he was a fraud. Now we find out he's a coward. Okay? But he does the Obliviate charm on... Nice little parallel, isn't it? Ron does the charm against Malfoy when Malfoy gets a Mudblood, and he ends up, belching out slugs. And Lockhart then does the charm with Ron's wand, and he has his wand reversed, and he ends up harming himself.
So would the wand breaking be considered a catastrophe?
Ooh, that's a good question. Could be in a sense because good comes from it. The good being that Lockhart can no longer hurt anybody.
I don't know if good necessarily comes from it. I think bad just doesn't come from it.
Well,
Because his memory being erased doesn't really lead anywhere.
but it does. It leads to him not being Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher anymore. It opens a position for Lupin to come in.
That's true.
And Lupin's a fantastic. Okay. And it leads to Lockhart not being a harm to anyone, including himself. Okay, there.